Hi, I'm Paul Chartier. This is a holiday version of Heart of Gold. Thanks for tuning in. In the spirit of giving, we've got guests Marion Gwynn, the CEO of God's Pantry, and Cheryl James, the board president of God's Pantry. Welcome.
Thank you.
We've heard of God's Pantry, I think mostly, but Marion, tell people that may not know what it is, all the great things that you do.
Certainly. God's Pantry Food Bank is the Feeding America food bank that serves 50 counties of central and eastern Kentucky. And we have been in operation in this area for more than 57 years now. As a food bank, we bring in foods from all sources into our warehouses in Lexington and Winchester, and then we move it out through a network of 275 nonprofits in 50 counties. So these are the food pantries, shelters, community kitchens, a variety of nonprofits that serve low-income people and have food as a part of their mission. So they're either creating meals on site and feeding people, or they are giving people groceries to take home and prepare in their own homes.
And this is not a seasonal problem. This is a 12-month-a-year program.
Unfortunately, people are hungry in the state of Kentucky and really all across the nation and the world every day of the year. In Kentucky, 1 in 6 people are at risk of being hungry. And God's Pantry, from our most recent study, we know that we're feeding 1 in 7 people. So we're missing about 100,000 people just in our service area potentially.
And ladies, what's the profile of someone who is receiving your kindness?
For the average client at God's Pantry is typically going to be a white female in her 40s. She'll have 2 children. If she's working, she's probably working a low-income job, probably minimum wage. What else do we know about?
May have graduated from high school, but it's unlikely that she has additional education. And you know, in addition to that, which would be the average person that we see, we also impact a tremendous number of households that have children as a part of their makeup. 41% of the households that we serve have children, and senior citizens.
Right, about 60% of the households, I think.
So as we have this need, is it more prevalent in the colder months? Is there a peak and valley of what's going on, or it's pretty across the board that people are hungry year-round?
People are hungry year-round. You know, I think at different times in the calendar year, there are different stressors on families. So certainly maintaining heat and, you know, keeping the utilities on and higher gas bills and all of that impacts households in the winter. You know, December is a stressful month because of the holidays at some level. And, you know, no matter what your economic level, I think everybody has a hope and a desire to do special kindnesses for their family and friends at this time of year. And so that makes households that are already really financially fragile perhaps even a little bit more fragile. In the summertime, there are different stressors. For families with children, if their kids were receiving a breakfast and lunch 5 days a week in school during the summertime, they're more likely dependent on their parents for those meals. And interestingly enough, in our pantry system here in Lexington, we find that August is, year after year, our highest month of service occurs in the month of August.
For the cycles that we see, typically instead of seeing ebbs and flows during the year, they usually occur monthly. And toward the end of the month, when folks are running out of money, is when we see the highest demand for our services.
For people watching that do have a need, and they probably know they have a need, what do they do to reach out to contact you or one of the 275 organizations?
Well, if they are able to access the internet someplace, our website has a lot of really valuable information, and that's godspantry.org. If you live in Fayette County, well, whatever county you live in our service area, you can pull up a listing of member agencies in that county. So those would be places where you could go and potentially receive assistance. If you live in Lexington and you're in need of emergency food assistance, our pantry system is available to you. If you haven't accessed it before, you need to get a referral from a social worker, but you can call God's Pantry and we can help you with that. And for folks who have already been referred to our pantry, if there haven't been any significant changes to their household, then they're actually able to call in their own referral.
And on the other side, for people that want to give, they can give their time, they can give food, or they can make donations.
That's correct.
And how do they go about doing those things, Cheryl?
If they want to volunteer with God's Pantry, directly with the pantry, they can call the pantry or get on the website. There are volunteer opportunities listed on our website. Also, the member organizations that Marion spoke of also typically run based on volunteers. If they want to give money, those donations can be made through the website as well, or they can call the office and we can give them the mailing address for mailing and donations. And then finally, if they want to donate food, if there's a food drive that's going on in their area, whether it's at their church or their child's school, they can send foods that way. And most of the Kroger stores have barrels near the doors. If they want to make purchases at Kroger and then put the foods in the barrels, those donations come directly to God's Pantry as well.
When people volunteer, is there a threshold of Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and up? I mean, what age do you allow people and teams to come in to dedicate a Saturday or whatever day it is to volunteer?
Well, the great thing about the sort of volunteer opportunities that we have is that many of them are available to people of all ages. And if you visit our website, we routinely work with individuals and groups on Tuesday and Thursday evenings in our warehouse and all day on Saturday. There is one Saturday a month that is designated as a family volunteer day, and I believe children as young as 5 or 6 years old are eligible to participate in that day. There are other volunteer tasks that require folks to really be middle school age and up. So there are lots and lots of different ways that people can be engaged as volunteers, and the website is a great resource. It will describe, you know, some of the different sorts of activities and involvements.
So it could be an individual, it could be a church group, it could be a soccer team, it could be a women's tennis team.
We see all of those
That's
sorts
great.
of groups. We also have a good number of corporations in Central Kentucky who enable or allow their employees to participate as volunteer teams from time to time throughout the year, and so they'll come in. One of the newer volunteer activities that we have is called Repack, and in fact our capital campaign that we are close to closing out on has provided us with a brand new Repack room on a new floor in our warehouse on Jaggy Fox Way. And in that space, we utilize a lot of middle school and older groups to repackage bulk quantities of food. So as food donations have dried up at some level, we are working really hard to access food in a wide variety of ways. And one of the resources that we've been able to hook into are bulk foods. So we're bringing in, it could be perhaps as large as a pallet-sized bag of cereal or rice or pasta. We've had nuts, a variety of different things. And we utilize volunteers to take that 500-pound bag and turn it into 500 one-pound bags, labeled and sealed, so that then it's really appropriate for our pantries in Lexington or anywhere throughout our service area.
Before we talk about food insecurity, explain to me how 10 equals 100.
Well, we use that number a lot, and you'll hear that a lot associated with God's Pantry. But as we leverage, as Marion just spoke about, purchasing in bulk, that's one example. We also leverage our relationship with Feeding America. We're able to make purchases, or Feeding America can orchestrate purchases on a national level, which would give us a cheaper price to buy the food. And then we, as a food bank, pay for a portion of that. But by working with various organizations, we are able to make a purchase at a lot lesser cost than, say, you and I would be able to purchase the items if we were to go do that as individuals. And what we found is the ratio is when we make $10 worth of purchase, it will actually translate into $100 of food for the families that we serve.
So when people donate, if they want to donate cash, and do you take credit cards?
We do.
The technology way, fantastic.
We do, and you know, there's a lot of different ways that you can be involved as a financial contributor. We encourage people to consider becoming a part of our monthly giving program, and we will then call you a hero for the hungry. You can make one-time donations on our website or send us a check. We take electronic bank transfers.
Great.
You know, we're really quite up with the latest technology in terms of how to access your donation.
We'll take your money any way possible. Food insecurity, what does that mean?
Food insecurity is kind of a scientific or research term that refers to an individual's ability to access enough nutritious food to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And so In research projects, if we're talking about a number of people being food insecure, these would be folks who have cited that, you know, occasionally or periodically throughout a month, they do not have enough money to access all the food that they believe they need to live a healthy life. And unfortunately, in Kentucky, there's a good number of people who are classified as food insecure.
So the food you provide, you try to provide nutritious food for the people that go to all these different food banks and organizations.
We do, and in fact, over the past, I don't know, 6-7 years, we've been able to make some pretty significant strides in that way. Last year, we distributed 22.8 million pounds of food, 22.8 million pounds, and roughly a third of that was fresh produce. Our board made a significant commitment of dollars in our budget to accessing fresh produce about 6 years ago, and it's been one of the areas that we've been able to see the largest increase in poundage coming into our warehouse. And we did that for two reasons. One, we kind of looked at the panorama of food availability, and that was a big source of available product that we were not readily accessing. And the second thing was, you know, Kentuckians lead the nation in many diseases that are very much diet related. And access to fresh fruits and vegetables is important to establishing a healthy life.
We've covered a lot of great things. The human connection that you provide is very important. And Cheryl, as a volunteer, to talk to people for a minute about what you get out of volunteering for God's Pantry.
Well, I've volunteered over the years in a number of different capacities. Right now, serving on the board of directors. Obviously, I enjoy working with talented folks like Marion and the entire staff at God's Pantry in forwarding our mission, which is to meet the needs of the 1 in 7 that we're feeding and ultimately get to the 1 in 6 that we know are hungry in Kentucky. But I also have volunteered for a number of years at one of the pantry sites here in Fayette County that God's Pantry operates. And by volunteering there, I enjoy it because I get to have the intimate contact with the clients, with the families that we're impacting. A lot of folks come into the pantry, especially those who are being served for the first time, and you know they won't meet your gaze, and they're almost apologetic for needing the service. But if they come into a pantry site, they're welcomed by the volunteers warmly and allowed to shop just as you would shop at a grocery store and make their own selections. And for most folks, by the time they leave that pantry site, they are very thankful and appreciative of the services we've provided at their time of need.
Well, as you well know, if it weren't for volunteers, your 30+ employees would be like working 8 days a week. So thank you for volunteering.
Absolutely.
In the last minute, Marion, if you want to give your website and phone number again, that people can call for donations of all kinds.
Right. Our website is godspantry.org, godspantry.org, and our phone number is 859-255-6592. So if you are interested in volunteering, donating food, organizing a food drive, becoming an advocate on behalf of issues related to hunger, we would love to involve you in any of those ways.
Marion Gwynn, Cheryl James, thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, and thanks for impacting so many people in our community.
Thank you, Paul.
We'll be right back with our next guest talking about the Christmas store. I'll be right back.